So the Black Shark 2 is one of the first gaming smartphones to be launched in 2019, packs in some great dedicated features in there and a nice bit of Snapdragon 855 chipset action as well for less than 500 quid. Stunning value for money. I've already done a general smartphone tour over on Recomu, but I thought I would take a much closer in-depth look at some of those dedicated gaming features now and also test out how the Black Shark 2 handles a nice bit of PubG Mobile action, especially with that awesome Ludicrous gaming mode. More on that in a bit. So here's all you need to know about the gaming experience on the Black Shark 2, and don't forget, for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, to poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell down below. Cheers everyone, love you! So first up, one of the things I love about the Black Shark 2 is in its natural state, it looks like your sort of unassuming stock Android smartphone, very straightforward stuff. But then, with a quick flick of this side switch here, it loads up the Shark Space UI. And this is where all your dedicated gaming features are buried away, all nice and concise. Now the Shark Space UI might be a little bit intimidating at first because there are quite a lot of features in there, but the main UI is actually really nice. All of your games are basically just presented in a nice scrollable menu. As you can see, you can just flick through them there. It's a bit of a shame that only some of the games seem to have this big dedicated nice bit of sort of poster work to them, and the rest are just dinky little icons in the middle. Bit of a shame that. But to be fair, if you're not really a fan, just tap this icon here and your games are presented as a nice little list instead, nice and easy. Of course, Shark Space is much more than just a pretty UI, so if you actually dive on into a game, for instance, at any point, you can call up the Shark Space settings as well, or Gamer Studio, as it is known here, and this just gives you fast access to a variety of, again, gamer related settings. So a couple of them are quite obvious. So for instance, you can toggle the Wi-Fi on or off depending on the Wi-Fi performance if you're playing a bit of PUBG and it's a bit stuttery. The no notifications option, you can see that on pretty much any gamer UI out there, and that is again very handy for just preventing any messages from popping up on your screen and distracting you when you're in the middle of a frag fest. You can also toggle that to include calls if you don't want any phone calls interrupting you, and then you've got a couple of other options as well. You can clear the RAM in order to free up a bit of memory if things are getting a bit stuttery again. And the dashboard setting will be particularly handy later on when we're doing a bit of benchmarking here with PubG Mobile, because as you can see there, it gives you the current frame rate as well as the battery temperature. So let's see how PubG Mobile absolutely canes the Black Shark 2 and how the phone handles it. Now, one of the best new features in the Black Shark 2, something you won't find in the original Black Shark handset, was this magic touch feature. This is basically just a way of setting up pressure controls. You can use the pressure sensitivity of the Black Shark 2's display to activate special modes in-game. You can use this on the left-hand side of the screen or the right-hand side of the screen, or both at once. I'm just going to use the left-hand one just in this example, just to show you exactly how it works. So as you can see in this little meter down below, you can actually adjust the pressure sensitivity, so the amount of pressure that you have to apply for this feature to activate, and you can give it a testing out. So as you can see there, nice firm push, we'll blast it all the way along to 7. Yeah. I find having it around 5 generally works quite well, because otherwise if you have it much lower, then you can trigger it by accident just by simply moving your thumb around on the screen. And once you've set up Magic Touch on the Black Shark 2, as you'll see, you'll get this pressure sensitivity pad which can be moved around within the confines of this red dotted line. So I'm going to make it quite large so it's easy to activate. And then as you'll see here, you've got a separate little dot thing. What you need to do is you need to dive into the control customization in a game such as PubG Mobile, and then when you hard press on this pressure pad, which will of course be completely transparent when you're actually in game, it will then activate whatever this little L is sat on top of. So for instance, in PubG Mobile, I like to have it activating the scope controls on my weapon. So there you go. So I'll just put it over the scope button, and now you'll notice that whenever I hard press on this side of the screen, boom, the scope is activated. Great stuff. Now you can of course get a joypad attachment for the Black Shark 2, just as you could on the original Black Shark as well, and I highly recommend doing so if you're going to be playing a lot of really intense reaction focused games such as PubG Mobile, because it really does help out, gives you such an advantage over the rest of the competition. It's once again fully customizable with the likes of PubG Mobile, so definitely check it out. And of course, you don't have to have something like the Black Shark 2 to get a joystick attachment. The likes of FlyDigi, for instance, are wireless controllers for a wide range of smartphone brands, and you can check out some of my reviews of those here on TechSpert. So I'm just going to jump on into a game of PubG Mobile now, and we can test out exactly how that frame rate holds up across a variety of the performance modes. Now, if you tap the Gamer Studio logo up top, you'll enter the full-on settings for the Gamer Studio here. So as you can see in the performance section, I've currently got it on the minimum level, level 1, but you can boost that up to level 2, level 3, level 4, and then if you tweak it all the way to the top, you activate good old Ludicrous Mode. Love the bit of chicken icon action there, great stuff. And as you can see here, with this mode activated, you can boost up that CPU performance, the GPU performance, and I think this is the thermal performance, this last one, otherwise you can see it is of course not in English because I don't have an English review model. But for now, we'll just boost it down to level 1 and see how the Black Shark 2 copes with general everyday PUBG action. Let's get that dashboard on the go so we can see the exact frame rate and the temperature as well. Nice steady 30 FPS at the moment. Certainly you wouldn't expect it to go far beyond that, even on performance mode 1, because it is of course the Snapdragon 855 Qualcomm's latest premium chipset. It's been found in very few smartphones so far. So as you can see there, it's maintained a nice consistent 30 FPS frame rate. Let's hope I actually manage to get a gun before I get shot to bits. I'm just going to test out the magic touch feature. So as you can see here, I'm nowhere near the scope button. I'll just hard press here on the left hand side and there you go. It loads up the scope for me. So I don't need to be fumbling around for this tiny little button or anything like that. It's nice and straightforward. Now this is always one of the biggest tests in PUBG Mobile, to see how a smartphone handles gaming in general, is bombing across the landscape in some kind of fast vehicle. And as you can see there, the Black Shark 2 seems to be holding up rather nicely. I don't think the benchmarking software is proven particularly dependable here because it is just stuck at 30 FPS. You'll notice the battery temperature has risen ever so slightly, up to 29 now. Certainly charging around like a lunatic doesn't seem to be doing it any harm whatsoever. Quite a lot of other phones would be stuttering and stammering by now. Definitely seeing a couple of little stutters here and there, especially when you're doing some fast turns here in the car. As you can see there, a couple of little bits of jerky, janky motion. There you go, there's another one. And as you can see, the frame rate, according to Black Shark's benchmarker, is consistently at 30 FPS, which is obviously utter bullcrap. So no messing around. What I'm going to do now is go into the performance settings in the Gamer Studio and crank it all the way up to ludicrous setting, max settings, and see what kind of performance we get out of this. No messing around with any of that level 3, level 4 bullshit. No, straight to the good stuff. And what Ludicrous Mode apparently does is basically culls all of those non-essential features. And you can see there, the battery temperature has risen a bit. I've been playing for about sort of 20 minutes or so now overall. It's only risen to 30, so only 3 up from where it was when we first started gaming. But as you can see, there are still stutters here while driving in PubG Mobile. It did actually dip down there in the slightly optimistic frame rate monitor as well. So I'm not entirely convinced how much of an impact Ludicrous Mode seems to have. Oh, there's someone just blasting away here. I'm just going to run him down. There we go. Ha ha ha. Sucks to be that guy. So there you have it. I've been playing PUBG for a good while now. The temperature stayed pretty consistent around that sort of 30, 31-ish mark, even at its hottest. It did start to get a little bit warm around the back of the chassis, but nothing troublesome whatsoever. So Black Shark's cooling system definitely seems to do the job quite nicely. As you can see, the Ludicrous Mode, not really sure how much it does, to be honest. The only time PUBG Mobile ever struggled was when I was bombing across the landscape in a vehicle. And even then, the Ludicrous Mode didn't seem to do anything. It was still performing in exactly the same way. But of course, Black Shark 2 handles everything else absolutely fine. Nice crisp frame rates for your PUBG Mobile. So when you're running and gunning, all of that, you will not miss any of the action. You'll not be sat there waiting for the phone to catch up or anything. And Black Shark does reckon that the Black Shark 2 has one of the lowest screen latencies of any smartphones as well, around the 42 millisecond mark, I believe it was quoted at. To be honest, couldn't notice any difference during an actual game of PUBG Mobile between this and any other premium mobile, but hey ho. I would definitely say get the actual physical controller if you're going to be playing a lot of PUBG Mobile, because it makes the game so much easier. Even with the pressure controls and everything, it's a nice little addition, but it cannot beat an actual physical thumbstick, physical buttons. Just really, really does help out, so give that a go. So that's what I reckon about the Black Shark 2 as far as PUBG Mobile and its various gaming features are concerned. Definitely let us know what you think down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and do that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech. Cheers everyone, love you!